Alrighty, what is up everyone? Welcome to the Sunroom show. I am actually filming this episode in the Sunroom, so the channel name makes sense for once. As you can see, it's just me here today. Adam is not with me because I just kind of wanted to start this series on my own. I don't even think I told him about this. But yeah, as you can see, I've been reading quite a bit recently, and I just wanted to start a little series where I would make maybe 3 to 5 minute long reviews of each of the books I've been reading in hopes to kind of keep myself accountable, because this was my New Year's resolution, I guess. I just wanted to read at least 50 books this year. So in order to reach that goal, I'm going to make a little video series where I'm going to go through each of the books that I have been reading, and I'm definitely way behind. As you can see, this pile is quite large, and there are some books that I have read that are not in this pile because I've been giving them to my friends because I want them to get into reading. That's kind of the whole point of this series, because I want to get more people that I know to start reading, because I feel like it is something that people in my generation just don't really care about anymore, and I honestly didn't care about it until this year. I used to read a lot in 7th grade, but I've completely stopped since then, just because school's been assigning me so many books that I don't care about that I started to just hate reading in general. But this year, my senior year in high school, I've not been assigned a single book until recently to read at all for my English class, so I just started reading, actually, which was really weird. So the one year that I haven't been assigned any books, I started picking it up again, and so I've been reading a lot of books from different genres. So I just wanted to make some short little reviews for each of them, and in hopes that if one of you see the review and you find the book interesting, that you'll pick it up and maybe start reading for yourself. So yeah, we got a lot of books here from different genres. I've been reading some philosophy books, some fiction, some nonfiction, some, I guess, self-help books. I don't know what else you'd categorize them as. And so yeah, I think today we are going to start with... We'll start with Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. It's a really great book, and it is really short as well. So I think this would be kind of a perfect book if you don't really read at all. It would be a perfect book to get into the medium. His writing style it's very simple. Some of these books in here, I know, especially with Dostoevsky and Nietzsche, it's really hard to kind of comprehend what's going on. I know, especially with Crime and Punishment, I have to look up lit charts for each of the chapters so I could just understand what's going on. But this book is super simple to read. It's about Viktor E. Frankl. He's a psychiatrist, and it's about his personal story going through the Nazi death camps as a Jew during World War II. So you can kind of imagine the tone of this book. The first half is just about his experiences in the concentration camps, whereas the second half is how he used his experiences to create this new form of therapy that he titles logotherapy. That is one of the major forms that is still actually used today. And logotherapy is all centered around the idea that when you as an individual find meaning in your life, then there are very few things that will get in your way. And so he obviously went through these Nazi concentration camps and came out on the other end alive. And he gives a lot of great stories about some of his friends in the camps, some who survived and some who died. And his observations about the way that they carried themselves really showed the difference in who was able to survive and who died in the camps. I remember he writes one story about a friend who had a dream about the camp being liberated on a specific day. I think it was March 1st. And as the day drew near and near and near, his friend started to exhibit more signs of sickness because they didn't receive any news that liberation was any closer. So his friend kind of hinged his entire life on the fact that they would be liberated on the specific date. And he kind of focused his whole meaning around this one time, this one place. And as it became apparent that that wasn't going to happen, his friend actually just died a couple days after March 1st, even though beforehand he never really exhibited some real signs of physical sickness. It was almost like in his head, once he gave up the meaning that he had in his life, his body just completely gave out. And that's just one of the examples in this book. And it's structured so the first half of it is all just about his own experiences in the death camps, and the second half is how he used those experiences in a clinical setting. So if you're into psychology, I highly recommend this book. It's honestly a must read. It's really short, like I said before. It's only around 150 pages, and it's written very simply, very easy to pick up. Or if you're interested in history, specifically World War II, this is also a really great book for you to pick up. I really recommend this. It's super inspiring. There's some really good quotes from this book that stuck with me. I remember one instance where he talks about his friend having a nightmare how he was shaking in his bed and screaming in his sleep in the concentration camp, and how his first tendency was kind of to wake him up to make sure he was okay, and then he stopped himself because he realized that no matter how bad the dream his friend was having, it was impossible for his nightmare to be worse than the reality that they were living in. And when I read that, I kind of took a step back from the book, and I really thought about that for a second. I just tried to put myself in his shoes about how terrible his situation has to be in order to go through that mind process. Another quote that I actually wrote down on my phone: suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. And I do think that a lot of people I know are really struggling to find a meaning. And it's not like reading this 150-page book is going to cure all your mental health issues or anything like that, but it does give you some perspective on life, and it does make you think about how people were able to survive the worst conditions that humans have been put through in history just by having a drive and by having a meaning. And so this book is just a really deep examination on that. So if anything I've said in this video you think is interesting, I highly recommend you check out Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I'll put a link in the description. And so yeah, I'm going to review all these books in this pile. I think next we're going to do Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, one of my favorite books of all time now. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe if you haven't. I want to start doing some more videos that aren't just podcasts. Me and Adam have been talking about that. We want to kind of branch out a little bit and maybe do the podcast as sort of a monthly thing, and then doing videos like this, just other videos in general, maybe around once a week, but we're not trying to keep things to a strict schedule because we're both busy. But yeah, if you are interested in more book review, make sure you stay tuned. And also, if you have any books that you think that I would enjoy, make sure you leave that in the comments below or send me a DM on Instagram. Like I said, next episode, we'll look at Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and peace out.